So maybe we can start, and you could just tell us a little bit of background as far as where you're from and where you grew up, that type of thing.
Grew up, went to high school at Elk Mound, graduated in 1965, and really not much going on at that time for me. Not enough money to go to college. Worked as a laborer for a while, got a draft notice. So I applied or showed up at the draft board office for a physical. I never came back. Went right to the Army. Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for basic training. Fort Eustis, Virginia for advanced training. Spent probably 6 or 7 months in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, or Fort Lewis, Washington, and went to Vietnam. Went to Vietnam as a airframe repair, more or less fixed bullet holes in helicopters. Became a part-time crew member. Spent the better part of a year there.
When that draft came, what year was that again?
I got drafted in 1966.
Okay. So that was pretty early on with this thing. Okay.
I left home early September 1966. I had an older brother that had been drafted. He was serving his tour in Vietnam at the same time, at that time, and when he came home, I went. In the whole time of the Vietnam conflict, I guess they want to call it, but only 7 or 8 of us actually went over there out of the whole 7 or 8 years that I recall. And 3 of those never made it back. 4 of us did. So my mother crazy to have 2 of us in the service. I was the youngest of 3 brothers. My next older brother was in the service. I went in the service. My older brother was medically unable to go. But my dad was a World War II vet, so he understood what's going on. Family is actually the only support that I got from anyone, other than a couple of kids wrote letters once in a while, but that's about it.
A couple kids, who were those kids?
The one girl that used to send me letters was married to a friend of mine. He was also over there.
So she wrote to both of you?
Yeah. We were both stationed at one time, probably a mile apart over there. And he was a Marine, I wasn't.
What did your mother or father or anyone say to you before you went over to Vietnam, or even your brother at that rate? Because now he just
My brother
went
said,
and
do
came
anything you can do not to come to Vietnam.
That's what he said. Okay.
He was in the 1st Cav as an infantry grunt, they call it, and he didn't. I think he would have stayed over there longer to keep me from going over there, but it just didn't work out. Yeah,
What did you think when he said that to you? Now you know you're going over there.
I don't know, because his job was a lot worse than the one I was supposed to have. Next thing I find, I'm on a plane bound for An Khê, 1st Cav. I could have went a lot of different places probably, but I'm glad that I was in the 1st Cav. My brother was in the 1st Cav. I was in the 1st Cav. So I was proud of that. Spent a couple days in An Khê, and then went to Chu Lai. We took over, excuse me, the Marines had moved north, and we took over their base camp, and fixed a lot of helicopters at Chu Lai. Was there from the first part of December to roughly the 1st or 2nd day of February in 1968, right during the 1st of Tet.
You were also, besides An Khê, you were a few times or days anyway near Da Nang or in Da Nang?
Yeah, when Tet 68 started, the 1st Cav Division moved north to be up around Way and I Corps, and they moved our company. The Navy actually put us on LSTs and moved us that way to Da Nang, and offloaded us in Da Nang, and we went to, our company went to a Marine base and for 3 days, or roughly, and we pulled guard duty and relieved them because we were Army and they were Marines, and well, them guys will pull our guard duty tonight and tomorrow night and stuff, so it was kind of funny at the time, and got rocket attacks every night. Then we either drove or flew the rest of the way, which was about 90 miles, 80, 90 miles north of there to Phu Bai. Phu Bai just south of Way, southeast, I believe, on Highway 1. And I spent the rest of my tour there, as a base anyway. As a part-time crew member, we hauled, I don't know why I went up to, there's a place called Wonder Beach, whether we were delivering something, picking up something, someone. I got on a helicopter as often as they'd possibly let me. I just love Huey helicopters, and I took rides on them as often as I could.
Pretty close then with some of the guys that
Oh
you...
yeah.
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 Okay.
You get that way. You know.
Sure.
I've been in contact with several of them. One lives down by Grand Marsh. He had a different MOS in my outfit. And another one that was a mechanic lives in Tennessee that we've all been to the wall together. And a couple of them have come up to the high ground over here. Spent some time over there with them. Talked to several on the phone. One of my best friends over there, a guy by the name of George, from Pennsylvania. I called him one night, probably 10 years ago. And he was at work. His wife transferred me to where he works, talked to him for 10 minutes or whatever. I talked to his wife for an hour. You know, and I haven't heard from him since. So you never know about people.
Yeah.
I left Phu Bai, I believe it was September 3rd of 1968. The C-130 that we left the airport with took 8 rounds in the belly of the in the belly of the aircraft. Took out the landing gear, so we couldn't land it on K. The runway wasn't big enough, so they flew us to Cameron Bay so they could foam the runway, because it couldn't land without landing gear. And they foamed the runway, and we landed, and part of the running gear came down, landing gear came down, part of it didn't. And so as soon as we stopped, the plane kind of tilted severely to one side. We all got off and got on another plane, went back down K. Got mortared really bad that night. Went back to Cameron Bay. Got on another civilian plane to Fort Lewis, Washington. Spent the night there, and I got off a bus in Eau Claire on the 7th. So it was 4 days from Phu Bai to home.
And who met you at the airport?
My brother.
Or the bus station? Your brother
My brother.
did?
I called him when I got home.
So did your brother start asking questions right
Nah.
away? Or you didn't share? You just kind of quiet?
Just, we're home, we're done.
And that's how it went?
That's basically how it went.
From
yeah.
that point on? Your parents didn't even ask?
No, not about mine didn't anyway. They didn't really. They were just, I think, so thankful to get their son back, you know, and the second one.
If you could go back and if it could be different for when you guys came back, what would have been helpful for people today to know?
That thought we were just a little bit different, you know, and in all reality, we were. It wasn't the world that changed, and I've written that before. It wasn't the world that changed, it was us.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know how I would have acted, you know.
Sure.
I knew quite a few veterans when I first got out. You find it out later, you know, that
Sure, down the road.
that you work with one, you know, and they were the same as I was. They didn't jump up and say, I'm a veteran. They didn't wear their coats or their vests or their patches or anything. That I think everybody that's got a son or a daughter today, or a cousin or a nephew or whatever in the service today, wants everybody to know that, you know.
Well, I think a lot of the support that's coming for the current veterans, the next generation of veterans, is because Vietnam era veterans have stepped up and said we want to get behind them and support them and their families.
I believe you're right. I believe you're right.
It was you guys who rolled up your sleeves and made sure that that support was there for them and their families, and it was Vietnam veterans who even started the high ground.
The high ground, yeah.
That's for all veterans
That's
today.
for every veteran today, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And I'm you know, really proud too of some of the Vietnam veterans that have gone back to even Vietnam and have done some great things for the children and some of the people there. And so those are the Vietnam veterans that I've come to know and to love and want the rest of the community to come to know as well. And with that unique connection.
Camaraderie that means a great deal to me, you know, just being around them. I don't have to know them other than to know that they're a veteran or someone who actually cares, you know. That means a great deal to us.
What does it mean to, if anything, to you? Maybe it doesn't, I don't know, to have an actual Vietnam Veterans Day, a day to celebrate and to recognize and not to forget. It's not just for honoring veterans, it's for their families, it's for everybody that's connected to
I think it's long overdue, and I really appreciate what you yourself have done to get it that far, you know, and push that through, because there's so many of us that wouldn't have done that. Just let it go, just let it go. We don't need that, but once it's in place, and somebody actually has gone the route and done that, that means more than the day itself to me. I don't know how many of us actually think that we need that day of recognition, but it's nice to have somebody else think we do. You know, I think we all appreciate that. And if they don't, there's still something deep in themselves that they haven't let go, that that should not be there anymore. It's time to forget. It's time to stop the hatred and distrust, and you know, not everybody gets along, but you know, we can try. You know, many of the friends that I have, I belong to a couple internet groups, veterans, mostly Vietnam veterans, and if you ask those, half of those, we don't need one. You know, too late for this and blah blah. But like I said, it's time to start healing, getting them together.
Just getting together,
Yeah.
you know?
I told you probably when we talked about the Marine that he and I went to the wall together. And I didn't know this man at all, period. Maybe chat a little bit online with him, you know, but with a keyboard. And since the day that he and I met one another down in Illinois, on the way he was picked me up in Illinois, we've been as closer than my brother and I
Mm.
And we got together with another 25 of us at that wall.
Wow. When you look at this picture and a view from that long ago, and then being in Vietnam, and then all the more knowing that was your first day, what comes to your mind?
Comes to my mind,
Yeah, what do you think about that when
what
you see
in
that?
the world am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know,
What do you think about it now, though, when you look at it?
wish I was that young.
Wish you were that young again. This is you?
That's me
Okay.
about 9 months later. A
Well,
little
with
bit
the
different,
mustache,
little bit
sure.
different expression.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see in them two pictures, just the difference of expression on my face.
And what would this expression say?
I see that, and it's just so much, just the way the eyes look. I'm full of wonder there. I don't wonder anymore.
Mm. Were you sad to leave Vietnam or glad to come home? Or kind of
Both,
a mix?
probably.
Yeah.
The one on the right, his name is Larry Weigel. The other guy, I don't remember his name, but he had a brother in Vietnam, and they tried to get together for months. And finally, he got a 3-day pass or something to go visit him, and found out that he got killed the day before.
Oh.
So
yeah.
he was on his way home to escort the body home.
Okay, wow. Have you ever talked to your kids about your experience?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
they're asking questions, or did
Well, they did. They understand the veteran quite a bit more than I give them credit for, probably.
Oh, sure.
When LZ Lambo took place, they also did this kind of thing. They had interviews with vets.
Sure.
You know, and she had organized or volunteered me to be one of the ones they interviewed for
Sure.
Wisconsin. And about a half an hour to go before it happened, and I just called the lady and told her I couldn't do that.
Oh. What made
So-
you decide to tell your story today then?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe the right person asked me.
Well, I'm really honored that you came on my show to talk to me.
I'm glad I did.
How has Vietnam then changed you or impacted your life the most?
The only thing that I can think of really is it kind of probably made me who I am,
Mm-hmm.
good or bad. You know, my kids saw the bad a lot when they were growing up. I worked at home, and my daughter would especially probably agree with that. You know, sometimes it just wasn't the most cheerful person in the world, and it took forever to figure out why. You know, and not that that's any excuse, but it maybe is the truth of the whole
It's a
thing.
reason.
You know,
It's your truth.
a lot of things happen in your life that you can forget. Vietnam isn't one of them.
Well, it was a big, significant part of your life, in your young life, you know.
Yeah.
One of your first major experiences. I just want to thank you again for coming on and sharing.
I'm glad I did.
Yeah, I
glad I
am
did.
too. And if you know a Vietnam veteran, whether it's Vietnam Veterans Day, which is March 29th of each year, or any time you happen to come in contact with one, especially on Vietnam Veterans Day, let them know that today is their day, and that you celebrate that with them. And it means a lot, more than you think, and more than sometimes they may express, but it does. And it's the rest. I can, as a proud daughter of a Vietnam veteran, of course I would express that, but it's when the rest of the community, even if you don't have a connection, that step up and help us honor these men and women, and make sure they're always remembered and never forgotten. That's where even more power and impact, I feel, come into play. So again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.